Ladies and gentlemen, up in New York, there's a judge that's acknowledging that Danny Pantaleo was a big liar in the entire case of Eric Gardner. And I'm not surprised, but see, this is New York's fault. This is the fault of the people that are in power in New York. You let this man get away with choking out someone that was not a threat on the street. He thought he might be selling Lucy's, and that's not a reason for somebody to die. It's not. And you let him lie to you. And many of the people in New York that was around Danny Pantaleo, you knew he was lying. And you knew those other officers with Danny Pantaleo were lying. None of them should have got off. But you let them walk free. You know? And now you got Bill de Blasio talking about he can't fire Pantaleo. And you got the governor all over Bill de Blasio telling him he should have done something about Pantaleo. Remember, we are not in a just system. We are in this evil system, okay, that will allow people like Danny Pantaleo to even be a police officer. They like officers like him to be around. They like it. If they didn't like it so much, you wouldn't see so many of them on the force that are killing unarmed people. There's an awful lot of them on the force killing unarmed people. They like it this way. You notice in all the years that we have been complaining about all the shootings of unarmed people, how they still conveniently never did anything about it. The politicians don't even talk about it. Nationally or locally, they don't talk about it. And they don't do anything about it. You know why? Because this is the way they like it. They don't want this shit to change. They like the system the way that it is. All unfair and unbalanced and slanted in their direction. They like it that way. So Danny Pantaleo beat a murder. And what they did to him, suspending him, so what? For murdering somebody? So what? So, but yet you got people that have committed murders and they're spending the rest of their lives behind bars, but not Danny Pantaleo. He just gets suspended. All right. So this came out in the New York Times, August 19th, 2019. Officer in I Can't Breathe chokehold was untruthful, judge says, but you let him get away with being untruthful. Okay, you didn't find this out 5 years later. Just like the DOJ refused to move. They like this. Just understand, they like this system. The account officer, Danny Pantaleo, gave after Eric Gardner died was implausible and self-serving, according to the opinion of an obtained by New York Times. So this is what the judge said, y'all. This is what the judge said. When internal affairs investigators asked Officer Danny Pantaleo in 2014 to define a chokehold, he described a scenario where you use your forearm grasp with the other hand and you pull back with your forearm until the windpipe, preventing him from breathing. The investigators with the New York Police Department then had him watch video that showed him standing behind Eric Garner during a botched arrest 5 months earlier on Staten Island. In the video, Officer Pantaleo had his left forearm wrapped around Mr. Garner's neck, hands clasped. Still, he denied using the prohibited maneuver. See, this is the same thing Jason Van Dyke did. He shot Laquan McDonald 16 times unarmed, walking across the street, and he said what you saw in the video is not what happened. So Danny Pantaleo everything on the video and he's trying to convince you what you saw in the video is not what happened, then what is, think about this, then what is the point in issuing all of these cops video cams and they get to lie about what happens anyway? I know Eric Garner was actually shot by somebody that had a camera phone. I know that. But I'm just saying, we have seen them have on their video cam, watch what goes down, and the officer still lies about what happened. So filming this is not going to save your life. Just understand that, because they got it rigged up that way. It's rigged up to always be in the favor of the cop, especially when they're dealing with us. So the investigators with the New York Police Department then so they had him watch it. No, I did not, Officer Pantaleo said. An administrative judge in a 46-page opinion obtained by the New York Times found this explanation implausible and self-serving. The judge, Rosemarie Maldonado, who was recommended that Officer Pantaleo be fired, concluded that he had been untruthful during the interview, according to the opinion that grew out of a department trial that ended in June. And when they said it was going to be a police department trial, I knew this thing wasn't going nowhere. I knew it wasn't. Come on, y'all. And it's because the New York prosecutor refused to put Danny Pantaleo on trial under regular circumstances. So they're all in cahoots with each other. And that's why he got that lame-ass police department trial. I mean, does that even sound right? A police department trial? I mean, seriously, does that even sound right to anybody? Judge Maldonado, a deputy commissioner with the police department, also found that officers who testified on Pantaleo's defense were unhelpful or unreliable. A final decision about Officer Pantaleo's fate rests with the police commissioner and will come 5 years after the death of Mr. Garner, who uttered "I can't breathe" 11 times, first galvanized the Black Lives Matter movement. Judge Maldonado said the video of the July 17, 2014 encounter and an autopsy that found fresh hemorrhaging in Mr. Garner's neck muscles provided overwhelming evidence that Officer Pantaleo had used a chokehold in spite of being trained not to. Oh, these cops don't give a damn about how they were trained. They do what they want when they're out on the streets. We already see that. However troubling, she said, she was not persuaded that it was his intent to choke Mr. Gardner, and she acquitted the officer of strangulation. Then Judge Maldonado, what is the point in saying he's untruthful, but you didn't believe it was intentional? You can clearly see, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just the police officers that are problematic. It's judges too. Some of these judges, when you listen to some of these cases going on in the country, some of these judges don't even sound like they got any type of law degree at all. They sound like somebody just snatched them off the street and threw a black robe on them. That's how a lot of them sound. And I bet you if we look deep enough, you would find that a lot of them don't even have law degrees. They have nothing. But they are a judge. I bet if we took a close look, that would be the case. Okay, Officer Pantaleo used a chokehold, she wrote, fell so far short of objective reasonableness that this tribunal found it to be reckless, a gross deviation from the standard of conduct established for a New York City police officer. So I guess this is her 40 this is her 48-page document right here. Oh, okay, it's just one of those downloadable files. Okay, Officer Pantaleo did not testify in his own defense during the departmental trial. The judge finding that Officer Pantaleo was untruthful underscores a broader problem with the credibility of police accounts about interactions with civilians, particularly in high-profile cases. Police Commissioner James P. O'Neill is expected to decide by the end of the month whether to dismiss Officer Pantaleo, as Judge Maldonado recommended, or to take less drastic measures. The controversy has become essential to Bill de Blasio's tenure as mayor and his campaign for the Democratic presidential nomination, which, y'all, I saw an article. Bill de Blasio went to Iowa to campaign and only 15 people showed up. I kid you not. The article is out there. I was laughing at that thing when I was reading it. Yeah, I think when only 15 people are interested in hearing you, I think it's time to drop out. You have no chance of winning. Okay, so Officer Pantaleo, 34, has been suspended since August 2nd. He has spent the last 5 years on desk duty in Staten Island while the criminal and disciplinary process played out. And that should not have happened. That, they did everything they could to keep this man employed. And we know the DOJ, and this was really the decision of William Barr not to do anything and close the case with the DOJ with no charges. I mean, I didn't think the fat pig was going to do anything anyway, and he didn't. So, ladies and gentlemen, the only thing the Gardner family can hope for at this time is Pantaleo get fired. And I think that's a shame, because a lot more should happen to this man than just being fired. He's a murderer. No matter how you look at it, Danny Pantaleo is a murderer. And he's just one of many that is going to get away with it. But ladies and gentlemen, things are changing in America real fast. Just keep your eyes on these type of cases. I have a feeling we may see some unexpected things happen in the near future. Peace, family.